Hi, it's Jen. Welcome back to Foundation Paper Piecing Series 2. And this time it's for September. We all look forward to it's the beginning of fall, right? It's time to go pick the apples. We head up to Green Bluff as a family. I always have a dilemma. Am I picking red apples? Am I picking the Golden Delicious? Am I picking the green? Or do I pick all of those? And I end up picking a little bit of everything. You're seeing that celebrated here in the Foundation Paper Piecing project for September. And when I was trying to choose a background, I was actually intrigued by Lori Holt's background fabric. She's a designer for Riley Blake. And I found this amazing fabric. Oh, she's an incredible designer. It had months, it had seasons, it had letters and numbers. And I thought, that's what the kids are learning when they're back to school. And so I combined just the celebration of learning, the little ones back in school, with that apple picking. You're seeing that project, and they've fallen in love with foundation paper piecing now that they've discovered how fun and actually easy it is to do. Yes, not intuitive, but once someone teaches you how, then you're off to the races. So be sure to pick up the kit as well as the other kits in the series. That way you're getting these exact fabrics along with your backing, your hanging sleeve, your binding, and of course, that pattern that has full color instructions. We're showing you images of all the fabrics in your kit with the exact cuts that you need. All of the diagrams have been printed for you on Carol Doak foundation papers. You're not having to go out and Xerox all of that. And we've even given you sheets of stickers. So when you make your first cut, you're labeling that fabric. Make your next cut, label that fabric. Get all of your groups gathered up. And then when you start this process, it just clicks along. It's so fun. And if you have never tried that, today's video is just a quick overview, just a quick reminder. If you're brand new, head back to the first project in our series here, either the first series or the first one in this series. And I unpack the entire process, and you're going to see this is totally doable, even for a beginner. Absolutely. So don't think if you haven't done this before that this is past you. Not even. So just a reminder here that TSP, trim, sew, press, there's just a rhythm of that I'll review with you today. But let's just take a look here at our foundation paper piecing project specifically for the apple. It's basically made in 3 sections. The main part, this part here on the corner, and then the upper portion. So we have 4 blocks. You can see 3 are whole apples and 1 is a slice. So our first page will be A, B, and C for our block in the top left. What we'll be working on today will be D, E, and F. And then as you continue on with block 3, G, H, and I, J, K, and L. And you can see the stickers are missing for the one that we're working on today. So let me just show you where we are in our process. And the part that I'll be touching on today will actually be the uppermost portion of the block where there's some really acute angles. And I want to just remind you that sometimes where we think the placement of a fabric should go, where our intuition might serve us wrong. So we'll go ahead and review that. So let's just take a look. The main part of our apple slice here is on the bottom, and I'll just flip that over for you to see it. And the part that we'll be working on today is this upper portion. And so let's just put that aside. And also we'll be talking about the seeds. Those are laser cut. They're included in your kit. How fun is that? We all know that an apple slice, of course, has apple seeds, the next generation of apples. So we bring out all of our fabrics that have been carefully cut and labeled. And we always want to look at that lowest number, which is in this case, D1. And that's where we just begin to put just a touch of glue there and get our fabric started. Just get that fabric in place. And you could say, well, that's going to be upright, so I want my letters to be upright. You can start to be very intentional about the direction of the font. And I can see here, it looks like it might be day, so maybe it's probably the days of the week, right? So there you do have the opportunity to kind of be a little more intentional, because as you know, most of our backgrounds are fairly neutral. You wouldn't have a reason to flip this around, but now that there's words on that, you might think about that. So just wanted to mention it. D2 is our next piece. And I might even move that D1 over just a little bit here. I want to have better coverage on that. Because remember that we're not only trying to fill the space of D1, but a 1/4 inch all the way around that. And of course, that drawn line on the outermost perimeter is that extension. It is that 1/4 inch. For D2, just a reminder, trim. And before we trim, we need to fold back the line that joins them. Once we're satisfied we have the right location, now we move to the lip that's on the outer 1/4. This is a tool specifically created for foundation paper piecing and is really integral to the process. Once you've trimmed this away, now comes D2. And remembering that the job of D2 is to cover that entire space, making sure that we have a 1/4 inch around. You can see that right here, it's going to be very much needing to be biased this direction, right? It's not here like you might think. So that's why I specifically chose this one today to show you that sometimes when you have a very sharp angle, the fabric needs to be pushed one side or the other significantly in order to have the necessary coverage. And so that's a really good spot right there. We'll pin from the front so nothing moves. Oh, I did just move that. Just a touch. And we'll go ahead and start sewing. Remember that we'll take a few stitches before the line, go on the line with a shortened stitch length, and stop a few stitches after. Okay, so we had trimmed, we sewed, and now we press. You could certainly use the roll and press if you'd like, or a hot ruler, whatever you prefer. Now moving on to 3. When I first learned how to foundation paper piece, and I was specifically told that I needed to start a few stitches before, stitch on the line, and a few stitches after. When I folded this next line back, I was afraid to tear the paper because of course this is sewn down. Don't worry about that. Go ahead and pull that back. Again, we can use the nice sharp edge there. Don't worry about just ripping the paper, just so that you get right on that line. We'll trim. Let's add our brown, this fabric. I just want you to get a good look at that. Is this adorable? Spring, summer, autumn, winter with some flowers. Monday, Lori Holt. She is an amazing designer. There's a lot of designers I admire, but she's in that upper group. You know what I'm saying? She's just so clever. Okay, we know that we need to cover that. It looks like we have a nice amount of fabric to do that. We know we can also simulate that and take a look and say, did we get that coverage that we needed? And I think we did get that coverage here. Let me go sew that. And this time, let's just use that roll and press. I want to show you, in fact, we have a quilt retreat coming up here very shortly. And I know what that's like to be at a quilt retreat where you have a shared ironing board situation, right? Just because of the power in the room. And so this might be a great option for you because it's either too far across the room to get to the iron, or maybe there's a line to use that iron. So don't be afraid to grab that roll and press and lock that into position. It does a fantastic job. And we're gonna go with that. For our next and final portion of this section here, I'm gonna fold that back. And I have this lip here to trim. The last section, now this is a really fun fabric. So let's look at this. We know that this is going to be the top of our project. if you want to have the words be upright, let's take that into consideration here as we, oh, looks like we need to have our fabric be covering this. Our words are going to be upside down. I'm going to flip that upside down. So isn't that interesting? We have not dealt before with something that had words. Maybe you want them upside down. That's up to you. I would prefer them up, right side up. But I see that I need to heavily bias my fabric this way in order to cover that. Just naturally, we want to center that. Not in this instance. We need that fabric this way so when it is sewn, we have good coverage. Okay, so let's put in this really fun fabric here. Pin from the front. Sew. And we'll press to the outside here. And we want to check everything is good. Once we feel confident we have every area covered, remember that your precise trimming is going to be key in this coming together just like a puzzle, because all of the others have been precisely cut as well. A spinning mat is a great addition, not mandatory, but if you've got the resource, use it. And our last section. Okay, and then let's lay out our pieces together. You might be tempted to remove the paper. Don't do it yet, because this is doing a lot of work for us. Look how cute this is. Just darling. Now let's flip these over. Let's see what we have here. Something else that you can look forward to that we have printed on your foundation is what section joins to what section so that you don't have to wonder. You can see here that this is saying this side joins to D, this side joins to E, and then once that's combined, this side will join to the DE unit. So this is guiding you into success. So as we join these together right there, one of my absolute favorite parts about this is I don't have to find a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All I need to do right now is pin precisely and sew exactly on that line right there. And of course, we're going to start off the edge on and continue right off so that everything is attached. Let's get that sewn. And we'll want to press that open at this point. If I had a clapper, I would use it just because there's some bulk there. But remember, that'll be starting to be reduced once we start removing the papers after the apple is assembled. But just look at that precision. I absolutely love that. Once we have this, now we are right sides together. And look at that. Just look at the precision of it. I think that, well, I know that's what actually draws all of us to this is the precision. These are blocks that are not achievable any other way than foundation paper piecing. These angles are just nothing that we could reliably get from traditional piecing techniques. And we'll go sew that final seam for this block. Okay, let's see how we did here. Let's just take a look real quick. Oh gosh, that's adorable. What an adorable quilt block here. Press all that open and we can start removing papers. I just want to get this pressed out so you can see the block. This takes time there, getting everything open with the paper involved. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, you can start removing your papers, doing that whole process. I find difficulties anytime I'm in these little tiny corners. That's when I grab these Gypsy Quilter, and I love those little places my fingers can't get. They get in there. Now, we all know that when you slice an apple, you see the amazing seeds that are the next generation of apples. Well, we could not resist putting those in your kit. They're pre-fused and laser cut with something called a Heat and Bond Ultra. And so once you have them in the position you want them in, let's say you want them there, you can look at the photo and say, yep, I like them there, or wherever you want them. Just iron them down and they are down forever. This is a permanent product, whereas normally we're using Heat and Bond Light for fusible applique. If you chose to stitch around them, by all means, you could grab some thread you have in your stash and do that. But this is down forever. Once you've made your apple, of course, you're going to be completing the other 3 apples, of course, assembling those. We covered that in that earlier video, adding the sashing, the cornerstone in the middle, your batting, your backing, and then of course, that's when we opted to go ahead and use the thread set and stitch everything down. So it just had this beautiful embossed look. So our customers are loving this. If you still have a friend that's a holdout, you know what? Bring them over, grab a kit, maybe even buy them a kit for their birthday or something to join them, because I know once you learn how to foundation paper piece, you're going to want to do this again and again. So head over to the website to be sure to pick up your kit, your thread set, any other kits in the series, and join me next month as we continue our foundation paper piecing series 2.